Um, this is one of the last sessions we have. We're going to be looking at project pre, go live, and post go live activities. And of course, this also coincides with the Sage training, the Sage implementation we're doing. So awesome work. So it's a good timing to learn this because the plan is to go live with our project and also learn what we'll be doing when we go live. So this is coming at a very good time. So let's learn about what the project, pre-project, and go live and post-go live activities are, and how that will also impact our projects. So the next thing here says, what do you think? If you look at this picture, um, it says here, IT project go live issues. And it looks funny, but if you look at the picture and relate it to IT projects, what comes to your mind basically? This is just a teaser. What comes to your mind? So the helicopter has gone live, but of course there are issues beneath. So what do you think is was one of the issues why this helicopter? What do you observe basically? First, what do you observe?
Oh, yeah, I can. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, what I can observe is yes, the helicopter has gone off, but the landing
Mm,
base for it to land successfully to its
mm.
when it gets to its destination, it's actually parted way. So it's not there will be definitely be a challenge landing wherever it's going.
Awesome.
So there's a
Awesome.
problem there, yes.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
This the
Okay.
picture basically talks about loopholes. When you have loopholes in the manufacturing of the helicopter, just like the base is not structured well to hold on to the frame of the helicopter itself. That makes it when it goes off, everything just is not having a proper connection with each other, which is going to make
Mm,
at the end of the once the project has gone live, you will still come back and
mm-hmm.
trying to refix and to retackle on the issues which you would have done before the helicopter go live. Yeah, flies off.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. So that's just trying to relate it to IT project now. Jerry, thanks for that insight. So anybody, can you relate this to one of the issues we have? Can you relate this to, just like Jerry has given us a hint? Can you relate this to an IT project, because this is an issue, this is a problem? So how would you relate it to an IT project? This is like a small brainstorming session for 5 minutes. Jerry has given us a hint. Yes, go ahead, OP.
Okay, so relating to an IT project is like they were ready for go live, but there are still some issues. Like we'll still face issues. Like for this helicopter, it's ready to take off, but
Mm-hmm.
there are some issues that we don't see, unforeseen issues that might occur. Like now it's
Mm.
taking off, but the frame is
It's
dropped.
at the
So
bottom.
for
Yeah.
IT, yeah, once we go live, we should also have it at the back of mind that there are still going to be some issues that we didn't project that may occur
Awesome.
once we go live.
Awesome. Awesome. Because this is very unexpected. You can see the guy who is taking off, I guess, is probably thinking how he's going to land. So thank you very much, guys, for your insights. Thank you everybody who has spoken. Yeah, and really, this is a pictorial view of what happens when um what happens on basically every IT project, right? While we celebrate go live, if we have not, number one is preventive. If we have not identified all the our read log has not been updated and we have not identified all the issues we'll most likely have, then and deal with them before we go live, because you need to deal with those issues before you go live. If that hasn't happened, then when you go live, be rest assured that you will have problem landing. And landing is basically talking about having a successful project implementation. Right? And I mean, if you look at it in project, we have a lot of issues happening in projects. Most times we go live. Some projects go live, and I mean they end up failing. Some projects go live and they realize that a lot of things have not been done. The users are not conversant with the system yet. You know, it was done in a hurry. You know, there was the integration testing was missed. A lot of, you know, issues you can discover when you have gone live. You know, maybe poor testing and the rest of them. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry, if you have a question.
Yeah, to add to this, I think what we're working on now is a typical example of this helicopter. Just like you
Okay.
said, the green field, they've already done this before and it was all a flop, which make them to start
Yes.
doing it again. So this is just an
Yes.
example of it. I think the previous one they did went live and there was no
Yeah.
successful story to the implementation of the system. That's why they now contacted you again to retry and see. So we hope
Yeah.
this time around the helicopter is going to fly well with that and also have a soft landing.
Yeah. That's soft landing. Very, very correct. And yes, I mean, some of the issues we're hoping that some of the issues they faced, maybe that's why they could not land. We will have tackled them. You know, remember when we had the conversations with the stakeholder, they kept insisting on training, support, manual, you know, knowledge of the system and a whole lot, right? So we are hopeful that we have learned from the lessons of the previous implementation that was done, and we have implemented those changes. And hopefully, when we take off, we will not have our own issues, right? When we take off, we'll take off with the landing gear and, of course, land successfully. You know, so right, this is just a typical example of what you would find in a lot of IT projects. Go live is not a guarantee for success if you have not done your homework, if you have not, um, you know, done your job very well. You get so that's just one of the things I needed to drop there. That um, while we are looking forward to going live and doing what we need to do, we have to consistently check and make sure, um, you know, make sure we do what we call a successful cutover. Cutover is the period where you check again and make sure that you have ticked all the boxes. We're going to see it when we go into this task. So thank you guys for sharing your thoughts. Okay, and that's the question. What happens during go live? So that's the next question. So when you hear the word go live, what do you think happens during an IT go live project? We have 3 minutes to one or two responses, please. When you hear the word go live, what comes to your head? What do you think? What happens?
Yeah.
Okay,
When
I have
okay.
Jerry first. Jerry, go ahead. If your hand is still raised. Jerry, are you there? Or John? Go ahead,
No,
John.
you should go ahead first. I think I didn't bring it down. You should go ahead first, but I'll still talk.
Okay, go ahead, John.
So
What do
yeah,
you
so
think
when we
happens?
say go live, that means all the data, everything has been migrated to the company, to the software. The people now, the company now have, like I will use Greenfield as an example now. They now have everything, they've been trained. So they've gone live now, so they can view everything in terms of Sage now. That is everything has gone live on in their own office, or this is the everybody can log in successfully and they can
Mm-hmm,
view all their data. Everybody that has
mm-hmm,
the user rights,
mm-hmm.
they can view. Depends on what how will I put it,
Go
the
ahead. You have already given us the points, basically. They are now ready to use the system.
you ready to use the system. That's just it. Yes, yes.
Awesome.
Okay. In
Go
addition,
ahead,
it's just
Jerry.
like in addition, it's like when you test and validate everything works as expected. Yeah, not just on their own, but as a whole, everything working together. That's what I think.
Awesome. Awesome. So simply put, when we say go live, we mean that the system is now ready for users to use, basically. Right? That's what we say. When we say project has gone live, it means the system is ready. Okay, so let's look at project go live. What is project go live? Now, at the time of the go live, a system is officially and formally available to users who can then initiate transactions in the new system. So go live basically means that officially we have successfully done our cutover activities. We have closed out on training, closed out on testing. We have closed out on integrations, customizations. We've finished everything. We have confirmed it's working. We have migrated to the production environment and officially turned on the system for the users to use. No, there's one very important activity we do before we go live. And that's why if you that might be one of the reasons why that helicopter did not will find it difficult to land when you ignore those what we call cutover procedures and pre-checks. So before you successfully go live, you must sign off on your cutover. And also there's what we call entry and exit gates. It's like an exit gate, right? And we'll make sure everything is working fine, the users are okay, everybody's doing, the system is available for users, and now we're ready to. It wasn't so no project is 100% can be 100% ready, but at least the core functionalities are ready and system and the users are comfortable using the system. So what are those checks we need to confirm before we can, sign off on go live? And that's what we call cutover procedure. So when you start having conversations, hopefully when you get your interviews, you need to use these terminologies. Cutover. I was also part of the cutover procedures and pre-checks. So, so why I'm giving you these terms is for you to be able to absorb them, know them, go through these videos again, take your notes, and learn how to speak the language. Now, cutover process involves a series of steps um, need to be planned or needed to be planned, executed, and monitored to make the project go live a success. So cutover process involves a series of steps that is needed. Those steps need to be planned, executed, and monitored to make the project go live a success. It encompasses cutover strategy, a cutover plan, a cutover date, an agile monitoring of the cutover activities, and controlling undesired variations. It's a crucial process and sets focus of the project on important activities which are necessary to make project results for actual use by the end users. So basically what it means is it's a very important process. You focus on showstoppers, you focus on the important activities that users will be performing when the system is available for them to use. But this has to be done and signed off by both the project team and the business. There's also a decision we call go or no go decision. That is also when you have done your cutover. If you've done your cutover activity, there will be a go or no go decision to go live. And the business has to sign off on that before you can say we are going live on this date. So let's look at cutover plan. What is a cutover plan? All rigors of a project goes into creating a product, a service, or a result. The time when we have completed this execution of the project activities, all testing of course, the product, which is Sage or services with respect to, so we are testing with respect to customer requirements, the product characteristics and product quality is completed. and that this product or service or the result is ready to be launched, we need to roll out steps called cutover planning. So we need to plan for this activity. And for every project, the cutover requirement differs as per the requirements or the nature of the product and project. But the procedure of the cutover remains generic. In a typical project plan, the cutover date is set up based on the baseline scopes and the schedule dates. So the cutover planning begins with the original project plan. It's essentially elaborated later when a project execution is in the last of its leg. So you plan for cutover even before you start the project. Remember that in our project plan, we have our cutover. Let me just see if I would find that. Did we? Let me see if we have. Okay, I think we have this. Let me see if this is the updated one. No, I don't think this is. Yep. Let me see. I know this is the infographics. I don't know if I have. Yeah, so this is just giving us an idea of. So this is a very high level infographics we have, and these are expected go live. So you see that hopefully before we had already planned and set up our cutover date, of course, which would be within this 24th. And so what this is showing is that at the end of the day, right, the cutover plan is an integral part of the project plan, and it needs to be planned well ahead of time. So let's look at the core activity that needs to happen, before we can, that probably talks about if we're planning for cutover, what activities, what plans, what does this phase really involves? Yeah, so when we are planning for cutover, we plan for availability of the hardware and software. So in that case, if you're implementing an ERP solution, for example, Sage, SAP, you have to make sure that system is available. And other material resources and people necessary for that rollout are also available. So it's part of the planning. You have to make sure users can access the system, and all the configurations have been done. The materials they need, like the training manuals, the test scripts and all that have been completed, and people are available. You also have to do what's called the declaration of go live and other subsidiary communications. You have to communicate go live early enough. Make sure the business user are aware that this is the go live date. Make sure they're aware of all the activities that would happen, and all that. Another thing you need to plan for is issue management protocol, of course, support. Because when you go live, definitely there will be a lot of them. There's a high chance that there will be some issues here and there. So you have to make sure you have a very good support system set up, which we call, of course, issue management protocol. Then you have to determine the blackout period in alignment with the cutover strategy. Blackout period is that time where the system goes out, right? All operations stop. Then you have that few days to now move all the data into the production environment. So normally it happens during the weekend. You shut down all the activities, turn the system on, and hopefully by Monday morning, everybody will now start using the new system, depending on the migration approach or the implementation approach you adopt. So next is cutover procedure. Cutover procedure involves series of activities that are carried out in adherence to the cutover plan, right? So the procedure entails the following step. One, freezing cutover date. So once the system is ready to use, planned cutover date and new date is finalized at an appropriate forum. So and that is what we call freeze. So when we have decided, there will be a freeze or a blackout, so that you can now move all the data to the new production system, set up all the users so that once they come into the system, they have access and they can start the job they need to start. So there has to be a cutover freezing date or a freezing cutover date. Two, you have to one of the steps that happens also is formulating cutover strategy and communication to relevant stakeholders. So it's important that stakeholders are involved and they are communicated about this activity. Clear, distinct communication has to happen, and formulating that cutover strategy, what we are going to be doing for these activities have to be defined. We've talked about having a detailed cutover plan. We've talked about ensuring all the steps are defined for validation of the variables. We also, part of the steps, part of what activities that will happen is orientation of the project team and core super user groups. So you have to make sure the people who are core to this task are well informed and the necessary orientation is given. You have to have a detailed procedure of events and tasks that will be carried out, in the blackout days. So what it means is that when we have gone blackout, you have to have a set of tasks that this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be migrating that. We're going to be doing some round of testing. We're going to be, testing the integrations. We're going to be making sure that user accesses have been created. So there's a lot of, so you need to define all those activities, details of those events that will happen when we go blackout. Then the next is the migration approach. Are we using Big Bang or are we using Trickle? These are two different go live strategies that you can adopt. Right, we'll talk about that much later. So you have to also define that. They have to monitor and control execution of all basically cutover activities. Then announce the completion of cutover activities, sending out success stories, and developing lessons learned documentation. So these are core activities that have to happen. Now, prerequisites which must be met to cutover. So what are the activities that must be met before you can exit cutover? One is testing of the product, or service. So you have to test. So in that cutover period, that will be where you do the final testing. So make sure integrations are working, transactions are working. Any errors, you have to correct them. Any issues, with environment, with user access. So another round, the last round of testing happens in cutover. Number two, quality audits by competent experts. So normally in larger projects, you have what we call the quality team that will make sure that the processes that have been defined or configured in the system are in line with standards, are in line with standard operating procedures, are in line with international standards, are in line with local requirements and all that. Of course, and you don't have you don't have conflict of interest in the system. People have access to the right thing they should have access to and all that. So that audit needs to happen. Pre-production mock drill. So normally from QA, we'll move to a pre-production environment and make sure we don't move straight to production. So during the cutover, once data is sitting in the quality server, to what we call the pre-production environment. Once you're done with the pre-production environment, and of course everything is fine, all the corrections that need to be done is done there, all the integrations, all the testing are okay, then you can move from that pre-production environment to the main production environment, which is where the business users will work on. Another thing that happens during cutover is trainings of end users. Make sure training that won't be completed. Make sure contracts, every other thing that needs to be done, sign-offs that need to be done have been done. All documentations for use are ready, like manuals, test scripts, everything is ready for go live, and people have can access them. All go live critical issues have been resolved, and their resolution is documented to assist in future reoccurrence. And the last but not the least, all legal formalities such as government clearances, license fees, taxation have been properly dealt with. So all these activities must happen if you want that helicopter with shore in the previous place to land successfully. So key aspect of cutover strategy. We have the timing and market conditions. We have the determining the need to access the requirements, with respect to the blackout period, requirements with respect to organizational preparedness. You have to make sure the organization is also prepared, ensuring alignment with cutover plan, and of course, setting up organizational communication in order to clearly define roles and responsibilities. So these are core aspects you need to remember when you talk about cutover. It's first of all is making sure that the product or service is the timing and the market conditions or environmental experts are well dealt with. All we need to do during the blackout period is the requirements are well defined. Make sure the organization is also prepared. Also ensure alignment. Ensure that whatever you're doing aligns with the cutover plan, and make sure that there's actually good communication. So these are four key aspects of the cutover strategy. Now let's look at the next thing we call period, blackout period, because that's one concept you would hear or learn as you join projects. Blackout period. Blackout period is an important step to roll out a new product or service, or the result that we need to create some space in the ongoing environment of the existing product or service. Now, basically what we call blackout is just that time, that period of time, when you have to make sure the system is ready before go live. So that's what we call basically blackout period. So let's say that we are done with testing, training, and currently as we are doing all this thing, the office is running, right? The company is running their operations, they are posting transactions. So the question is, if we're doing this by the side and they're also doing transactions, how are they going to move into this new system? So the period of blackout is to make sure that they stop what they are doing, basically, and we can move all the current data and existing data into the production environment so that they can continue, so that you can guarantee that continuity, right? And that's why we call it blackout. So they need to stop, we need to align, and they need to gradually leave that system they have been working on and move into this one. So you actually need this period so that you can align their current activities to what they're going to be doing in the system, so that the transitioning is a little bit easier. So when you have this, you can go through this plan. I think this is where I want to focus on now. This is final go live checklist. Number one, let's look at the implementation go live checklist. Number one, bugs. Big bugs have been squashed. So if you have any during the cutover period, if there are issues, if there are errors that has not been processed, we have to make sure all those bugs, all those issues are resolved. Next is to make sure all tests have been completed and passed. The next is you have practiced data migration and cutover. You're done with that. The data is ready to go live, because of course you do that practice in the pre-production environment. Make sure data is ready to go live in the pre-production environment. The system is backed up, very important. You have to make sure you have backup in case anything happens. The production environment is all set. So these are core go live checklist. Training is complete. You have strategized the rollout, and of course, support. Support is standing by. All right. So these are core go live checklists you have to make sure you have met before you can go live, or else that helicopter we saw initially might not land. Your project might go live, but you might never land successfully. So you have to make sure all these checklists are done before we go live. So we're going to implement it also in ours to say, we'll have this checklist. Do we have any issues? Have we all tested? Just tick, 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 tick. And then you can say, okay, we're now ready to go live. So successful, okay. Okay, Tamamo, let me see if I have what, let me see. Okay, so please ask your question.
Okay. Yeah, about I just had something going on in my mind while we were talking about the cutoff and the go live. I'm thinking about the situation. Let me talk about Greenfield so that it can be plain. Um, Now you collected all the data from their QuickBook system, and then
Mhm,
you are setting up, you are configuring the new system. Now,
mhm,
since from that time till now, they have been making transactions and probably
mhm,
still posting it in the QuickBooks, or I don't know how they are recording it. So when the
mhm.
system goes live, is it the job of the consultant to adjust, make those adjustments, or they will do that by themselves? Like entering the
Mhm.
new everything that happened after the data
Before,
was taken. That's
awesome,
after the
awesome.
yes.
That's a good question. Yeah, so ideally, yes. So we have defined that December. That's why they don't want this project to go past January 31st, because number one is more workload for them. So what we are using as cutover date is 31st December or 1st of January. So all the data we have brought in is as at that date. So what this means is when we go live, right? The balance they are going to have on the system is as at 1st of January. So they will need to post backlogs. They'll need to post invoices. They'll need to post payments. They'll need to post, everything they have done from January in that QuickBooks. They need to post it inside Sage, right? And sometimes, like there's a project that is also coming up for us. It's also related to backlogs. So sometimes they would pay some, they'll just, if they have enough staff strength, they might just pick it up and run it use a weekend and just run through it if it's not much. If it's much, they might need to get support from, get contractors to come and help them enter those new transactions in the new system. There's a project I did, yeah, some years ago. It was the same thing. We went live in January, but it took us some time we had to catch up. So we had to keep posting backlog to catch up from where they are, and before we finally migrated into the system. So yes, it's a good question. That's what happens really. So what happens is if you have selected a cutover date, you would have to run through very fast. Yeah. And let's say that we have said cutover is at discussion, we have said cutover is the first week of January. So what will happen is all the data we are going to be bringing in will be as at, we can decide to bring in as at 31st January, really, because all it will take is those key balance sheet balances. So what we'll do is we have decided that work with December 1st, December opening balances. However, if we think that to January, so what do you mean? I might have to use the weekend to bring in data as at 31st January. That is if that happens. But for now, the focus is 31st December. Okay. So you know, so really that's the idea. The idea is once we have brought in for 31st of January, any other backlog that they have done on the other system, they will need to we might need to migrate it. So we can migrate transactions, or we'll just adjust the balances to fit into 31st January. Then once that is ready, then successfully they will just start posting from 1st of February upwards. So these are some of the discussions that will happen within the system. There will be some audit adjustments. There will be some adjustments, of course, in terms of balances. But yeah, that's a good question, and that's how it's going to work. But the essence of the cutover is to make sure we are ready for go live, and everything has. If you go through the checklist, everything has been done successfully. So I think we still have some few time. Let's take the next course.